Hi, Nathan. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty
Good.
good.
Oh, good. This is Rebecca Kosis here with CHEA's Tips at 3, and we have a special guest joining us today, Nathan Pierce from Director of Operations at Family Protection Ministry. Thanks for joining us at the last minute, Nathan. I'm so glad you were free.
Oh, certainly. Thanks for having me.
So I gave you a little bit of a heads up. We're talking about advocacy during quarantine time now. And we usually like to tell families to go visit their legislators, go to their district offices, go to the Capitol and visit their offices there, but they can't do that now.
Right, right.
Right. So everybody's stuck at home, and I thought, what better time than now to practice those letter writing skills?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there are other ways to communicate with our legislators.
And we've talked quite a bit about how important it is that we build relationships with them too. So
That's right. Yeah, we have every person in California has two elected officials here in Sacramento that represent their specific area. And while we would love to have everybody visit their district offices right now, since we can't do that, it's a great time to be writing to them. You don't have to have a bad piece of legislation going through the legislature in order to take the opportunity to write a letter to your legislator. You can just write them about things that you're doing, things that you appreciate about private homeschooling, things that you are thankful for in terms of the freedoms that we have and the abilities that you have in homeschooling. And just to go from there, use your creativity and express appreciation for the freedoms that we have in California to homeschool.
mm-hmm. And so should they write to any legislator, or who should they be writing to?
Yeah, it's best to at least start with writing to your own legislators. Each person has a state senator and a California state assembly member, and you can find them by filling in your address information in the Find Your Rep website that the California legislature has, and it will tell you exactly who your legislators are, and you can find out who your other representatives are too as well. But specifically, we're talking about California State Senate and California State Assembly.
Right.
And we'll have that link below the video, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've got it queued up and ready to go.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
So that's a great way to find out who your legislators are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. And you also referred to, you have a link on your website with a sample of letters to write to your sample content of letters
Right.
to write to your representatives.
Right. And like I said, it doesn't have to be about a particular bill. You can just write about things that you are appreciating that you have right now. And you could thank them for just the way that we have the freedom that we do, the way that homeschooling works right now in California, and the flexibility that you have, or other things that you like about homeschooling. And then just try to be professional, but also be friendly to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's important. They are people too, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Whether we agree with everything they do or not.
That's right. That is right.
So we have all been abuzz about a magazine, an article written recently in the Harvard magazine entitled "Homeschooling at Risk."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, what about students and parents writing letters to editors now in response to that article? Would now be a good time to do that?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Letters to the editor, op-eds are great opportunities to weigh in on issues, whether it's with your local newspaper, with a local magazine, or whether it's a regional or even a nationwide newspaper or magazine or journal. Whatever you think of when you think news that you could write to, that would be a great place to start. And anyone can write a letter to the editor. Newspaper editors, magazine editors like getting feedback, but they like people weighing in on issues that concern them too. So if this issue is of concern to you, which I know it is to many of you,
yeah.
Weigh in on it. Have your kids participate and have them write a a letter to the editor expressing their thoughts on this issue, whether that just be focused on the things they're grateful for about homeschooling and the options that they have, the things specifically that they like about it, or whether it be specifically dealing, maybe some of the older students dealing with the specifics of what the Harvard Magazine article was talking about, the details about regulations, or one of the other thoughts in there. If something jumps out at one of the students, by all means, try to write a thoughtful, well-written article or letter that could be sent around to, whether it's your local paper or a magazine. It doesn't have to be limited to just sending it to one place either. You could send it to multiple publishers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a great opportunity for that.
Mm-hmm. So that's a great idea then, maybe for the whole homeschool group to take this on as a campaign,
Mm-hmm.
even if they wanted to catch a little more attention.
Sure, yeah. They could split up and say, cover different sets of issues, or cover different newspapers, depending on what the group wants to do. They could divvy things up and have different topics covered by different people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. That's great. And then there was one more point that we talked about that parents and students alike can be actively advocating, and that's praying for their legislators right now. And you have a really great resource that we get when we go to Capitol Day in Sacramento by Pastor Frank Erb, and he's given us some detailed outlines on how to pray for our legislators.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be daunting because we feel that sometimes we don't agree at all with our legislators, and it's difficult to even think about that. But really, they're people, and we need to not be afraid of them at all from any point of view. And that includes praying for them individually, for their families, for their work, and for how they think about issues. And those things affect all of us. So it's appropriate. It's appropriate at any time to be praying for legislators.
And it's scriptural, isn't it?
It is. It is. And they have asked for it. Legislators regularly and staff members at the Capitol regularly ask for that. Pastor Frank Erb gets that request certainly more than I do, I know, but he relays stories of that regularly. So I can imagine being needing that in the position of legislators, and I can appreciate their requests for it.
Absolutely. Well, we'll put the link to that as well in the notes, in the comments below our video here, so everybody can download that too. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the private school affidavit, because many private school affidavit filers and PSP leaders woke up or headed into their email this morning and received what they were taken by surprise by getting an unexpected email from the California Department of Education. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that letter and what's happening?
Sure. So the Department of Education is updating their website, and they've been updating various different aspects of their website. And part of that has been updating the affidavit form itself and sort of transitioning it into a different format. And not really much has changed with the questions in the affidavit form itself. And nothing has changed in the law with regards to the private school affidavit. But it's been more of a computer and technical end update to their website. And the email this morning, I know it did confuse a lot of people. Folks were asking questions about, do we have to file again? Why do we have to file right now again? Do we have to do something different right now? Do I have to refile? What's changing? Did the law change? Different types of things. No, nothing has changed with the law. They're just announcing that they have updated their website form. And this fall, the filing period will still be the same for filing an affidavit for the next school year. But if you've already filed for this year, there's no reason to file again.
Okay,
You don't
good.
need to do that. And you'll just be filing with a different format of a affidavit form this fall. That's the basic takeaway is in the fall, in October, between the 1st and 15th, when you normally file your affidavit, it'll look a little different. It's the law is still the same. The filing period is the same. The questions are the same. And you can homeschool the same as you did yesterday.
Right, absolutely. And I think they're really just trying to do a better job of being able to for the filers to maybe get access to their filed affidavit. I also noticed that the affidavit filers with fewer than 6 students will now be able to access that same information and carry it over to next year. So that actually just makes it a little bit easier for everybody.
Right. The data was always there. They just wanted to try to make it so that folks could more easily file in the fall. They're trying to make it the process of filing an affidavit a little bit more smooth.
Right. So, well, yeah, and I know we always our ears perk up when we hear news about potential changes to the private school affidavit. And as we've talked about before in the past, that we're very, even though the PSA is not a piece of legislation, we're very, very, as you've said, jealous for maintaining the freedoms that we have to homeschool in California. And sometimes that the PSA can be affected by that. Yes.
I get very protective. But yeah, we want to make sure that everything stays the same, and homeschool, private homeschool folks maintain the same levels of freedom that we've had for years and years. And we want to continue that moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nathan, I know you've got probably got tons of emails and phone calls to make before the end of the day, but I thank you so much for coming on and joining us, and just helping us to underscore how important advocacy is, even when you have to stay home.
Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you so much.